Those who argue against originalism and support a more living constitution make several points. The first argument is basically that constitutional language is deliberately vague, meaning that the framers assumed that the meaning of the Constitution would change over time. The Fourth Amendment prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures. Unreasonable is a term that can be hard to define. The Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishments. That also seems to evolve, especially when you learn about the type of punishments that were going on in the founding era. And the 14th Amendment, which we saw in Lawrence versus Texas, prohibits denial of the equal protection. So it says that states cannot deny people equal protection, and that's not a self-defining term either. Judges then have to fill in the gaps over time. The other critique of originalism is, how does it deal with precedent? Precedent being basically the operating system of the common law legal system. If you think your originalist answer is right, but the precedent has been in the other direction for 150 years, what are originalists supposed to do? This has come up a few times recently. Justice Scalia thought that precedent is actually sometimes more important than originalism, but Justice Thomas said, no, we need to get it right. Justice Scalia famously said in a 1997 speech, I am an originalist, I am a textualist, I am not a nut. I think he was actually referring to Justice Thomas when he said that. Originalism also freezes in a system that we do not and would not want to live under today, which is basically where white property owning males were the only people with political power. So originalism doesn't always allow for new voices. Another point is the amendment process makes the American Constitution, according to one study, the second hardest constitution to amend in the world. During the founding era, when we had 13 colonies that became states, America was more cohesive politically, but now it's nearly impossible to imagine 2/3 and then 3/4 of the country to agree on anything. Finally, just a practical point that critics of originalism have often made, which is that most Americans would not want to live under a system of originalism, right? States could execute anyone, including children and the intellectually disabled. There would not be any reproductive rights for women. States could basically establish their own churches, right? And then modern agencies and other aspects of what's known as the New Deal would also be eliminated. So that's kind of a practical critique, but the larger point is that the Supreme Court often uses originalism as a beginning, but originalism cannot often do the heavy lifting to produce the results that we are all familiar with today, much like the case that we studied in Lawrence versus Texas.